Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Duck Adobo. That's right, this might be the best recipe I ever learned from a dishwasher. And by the way, this is the Filipino version of adobo, not the Spanish version, which I've never had, but I'm sure is delicious. But anyway, this version features meat simmered slowly in soy, vinegar, and garlic, and it is incredibly delicious. So let me show you how to do this. So step one, we're going to generously season some duck legs with salt and freshly ground black pepper. I'm going to put a little drizzle of oil, and I'm going to toss those until they're thoroughly coated. And I was being very stubborn here because my bowl was already dirty, because that's where I had the duck legs. So I decided to season in the bowl, which took like 20 minutes. So you can just season those on both sides on a plate like we usually do. By the way, this recipe is usually done with pork or chicken, which I'm assuming you'll probably use chicken thighs for this. And the good news is it really doesn't matter. This is pretty much going to work with any stewable or braisable meat. So after those are seasoned, I'm going to brown those in a big skillet on medium-high heat. And even though I drizzled a little oil on the duck, I put another tablespoon in the pan. I'm going to start with the skin side down, and duck legs have a lot of fat. You're not going to have nearly as much if you use chicken, but bottom line, no matter what meat we're using, we're going to brown it well on both sides. We're going to remove it from the pan, and then in my case, because I am using duck and it does produce so much fat, I'm going to drain that off before I go to the next step. But I'm not throwing that away. Never throw away duck fat. I'll tell you why in the blog. So I poured all that fat into a heat-proof bowl, and we're going to put the pan back on the stove, and we're going to start this amazing sauce. So go ahead and put the heat back on medium. I'm going to throw in one large sliced yellow onion, a pinch of salt, and a spoon of that reserved duck fat. If the meat you're using, pork, chicken, whatever, produce some fat, go ahead and use that. That's fine. If not, a little bit of vegetable oil. And we're going to cook that on medium for about 3 or 4 minutes, just until the onions start to turn translucent. Something like that. All right, at that point, we're going to dump in a ton of chopped garlic. All right, a lot of garlic. That's one of the signature flavors of the dish. And of course, we don't want to brown it because that will make it taste kind of weird. So we're just going to cook that for about a minute or two, and then we're going to add rice vinegar, soy sauce, and some chicken stock. We're also going to warm it up a little bit with some crushed chilies. This is some sambal. And then last but not least, some bay leaves. Now I'm only using 2. The person I learned this from probably used twice as much bay, but I'm not a huge bay leaf person. But I'm going to put 2 whole bay leaves in there. We're going to bring that up to a simmer, and we're going to place our duck or chicken or pork or whatever back in. Now at this point, your recipe is going to be way easier than my recipe was, because all you have to do is braise your meat in this sauce, covered, repeat, covered, until it's tender. But I decided to try an old trick I learned back in culinary school, where you take a piece of parchment, oil it, and place it over your meat, where it basically acts like a lid. You can see steam will escape outside the edges, but underneath, it kind of holds the heat and the moisture and the flavor near whatever you're stewing. Okay? So it's kind of a way to cover without having to cover it. All right, you can kind of see what's happening. That sauce is going to reduce a little while it simmers because it's not tightly covered. And of course, you're going to adjust your heat so you're staying at a nice, very gentle simmer. I think I did about 30 minutes, and I flipped it over, and I did the other side another 30 minutes, and I kept doing that. Mine took about 2 hours, I think. Duck legs take a long time to cook, but your chicken thighs are going to take maybe about an hour. If you're doing some pork shoulder chops, something like that, you're going to have to play it by ear. But bottom line, cook this stuff in that sauce until it's fork tender. All right, you know the drill. So again, this was mostly me playing around. You can just cover yours and cook it through. But I was feeling nostalgic for my culinary school days. Back when I had hair, there was only 3 channels on the television and nobody used auto-tune. Good times. Well, actually, what I meant to say was, good times. In your face, T-Pain. Now, you may have to do one extra step. Because I used the parchment paper and not a lid, my sauce was already reduced nicely. All right, that's just about the perfect texture I'm looking for. But if yours seems a little thin, you know the trick. Just simply boil it for 3 or 4 minutes until it reduces a little. All right, you are the boss of your sauce. And then what I'm pretty sure is going to be your favorite part of this, go ahead and throw that over some rice, spoon over that amazing sauce, and there you go. Duck adobo. And let me tell you, that sauce is so delicious, I would be happy with just eating the rice. All right, forget about the duck. By the way, remember when I said forget about the duck? Forget I said that. The duck was incredibly delicious, meaty, tender, succulent, which is why I like duck legs so much. And that sauce, a little bit sweet, a little bit sour, extremely garlicky, a little spicy, just magnificent. And like I said earlier, this works beautifully, beautifully with chicken thighs, so don't think you have to go find duck, but if you do find duck, you're going to be very happy. but it really does work with anything, okay? So I really hope you give this a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.